The summer sun hung high in the sky as I stepped off the plane in Atlanta, Georgia, the air thick with warmth and the sweet scent of magnolias. I had been looking forward to this trip for months, visiting my cousin, Mia, who had moved to Georgia a few years back. We had spent countless hours on video calls, reminiscing about our childhood adventures and planning new ones. Mia greeted me with a wide smile and a bear hug that felt like home. "Welcome to Georgia," she exclaimed, her excitement infectious. We hopped into her car, and as we drove through the bustling streets, the vibrant energy of the city enveloped me. We spent the first few days exploring the local sites, the Georgia Aquarium, the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park, and the delicious Southern cuisine that made my taste buds dance. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Mia suggested we take a drive to the countryside. "There's a place I want to show you," she said, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Intrigued, I agreed, and we set off, leaving the city lights behind us. As we drove deeper into the woods, the trees grew taller and the air cooler. Mia turned down a narrow dirt road, and soon we arrived at a clearing that revealed an old, dilapidated farmhouse. The structure looked like it had been abandoned for decades, with vines creeping up the walls and broken windows that stared out like hollow eyes. "Isn't it creepy?" Mia whispered, a grin spreading across her face. I stepped out of the car, the crunch of gravel beneath my feet breaking the silence of the evening. The farmhouse loomed before us, a relic of the past. "Let's explore," Mia suggested, her adventurous spirit shining through. I hesitated for a moment, a shiver running down my spine, but curiosity got the better of me. We approached the house, the wooden door creaking ominously as we pushed it open. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the floorboards groaned beneath our weight. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like ghostly curtains, and the remnants of furniture lay scattered around, covered in layers of grime. It felt like stepping into a time capsule, frozen in a moment long forgotten. As we wandered through the rooms, I noticed something odd. In one corner of what used to be the living room, there was an old phonograph, its brass horn gleaming in the dim light. "Look at this!" I called out to Mia, who had wandered into another room. I reached out to touch it, and as my fingers brushed against the surface, the phonograph sprang to life, playing a haunting melody that filled the air. Mia rushed back, her eyes wide with surprise. "How did you do that?" she asked, a mix of excitement and fear in her voice. I shrugged, equally bewildered. The music echoed through the empty house, and as we listened, the atmosphere shifted. It felt as if the walls themselves were alive, whispering secrets from the past. Suddenly, the melody changed, morphing into a soft, sorrowful tune. I felt a chill run down my spine, and I glanced at Mia, who looked just as unsettled. "Maybe we should go," I suggested, but before we could leave, we heard a faint whisper, almost like a voice carried on the wind. "Stay, please stay." The room grew colder, and shadows danced along the walls. I felt a strange pull, as if the house was inviting us to uncover its story. "What if we're not alone?" Mia whispered, her voice trembling. I nodded, my heart racing, but curiosity outweighed my fear. We moved deeper into the house, following the sound of the music. It led us to a small room at the back, where we found a dusty old diary lying on the floor. I picked it up, and as I opened it, the pages fluttered, revealing entries from a young girl who had lived in the house long ago. Her words spoke of dreams, heartaches, and an unfulfilled longing to be remembered. As we read, the atmosphere shifted again, and I felt a wave of emotion wash over me. It was as if the girl's spirit was reaching out, hoping to share her story. The music swelled, filling the room with an overwhelming sense of nostalgia and loss. I glanced at Mia, and we both understood we were witnessing something extraordinary. After what felt like hours, the music began to fade, and the house grew quiet once more. We stood in silence, the weight of the experience settling around us. "We should go back," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. Mia nodded, and we carefully made our way out of the house, the diary clutched tightly in my hands. As we drove back to the city, the summer night enveloped us, but the air felt different now, charged with an unspoken connection to the past we had just encountered. The stars twinkled brightly overhead, and the moon cast a silvery glow on the winding road. I glanced at Mia, who was lost in thought, her expression a mix of wonder and contemplation. "Do you think the girl is still there?" she finally asked, breaking the silence. "In the house, I mean." "I don't know," I replied, my mind racing with the possibilities. But it felt like she wanted us to know her story. Like she was waiting for someone to listen. Mia nodded, her brow furrowed. "It's strange, isn't it? How a place can hold so much history, so many emotions. I wonder what happened to her." We spent the rest of the drive discussing the girl's life as if she were a friend we had just met. We speculated about her dreams, her heartaches, and the reasons she had been left behind in that forgotten house. The more we talked, the more determined we became to uncover the truth. The next morning, fueled by curiosity and a sense of purpose, we set out to research the farmhouse and its former inhabitants. Mia had a friend who worked at the local library, and she promised to help us dig into the history of the area. We spent hours poring over old newspapers, property records, and photographs, piecing together fragments of the girl's life. Her name was Clara, and she had lived in the farmhouse in the early 1900s. The diary revealed that she had been a dreamer, filled with hopes of becoming a writer, but her life had been marred by tragedy. Her family had faced hardships, and the house had fallen into disrepair after her parents passed away. Clara had written about her longing for adventure and the world beyond the confines of her home, but it seemed that her dreams had never come to fruition. As we delved deeper, we discovered that Clara had a younger brother who had disappeared one stormy night, leaving her heartbroken and alone. The entries in her diary became increasingly sorrowful, filled with her desperate attempts to find him and her eventual resignation to the fact that he might never return. The last entry was hauntingly poignant, expressing her wish to be remembered, to have her story told. Mia and I exchanged glances, the weight of Clara's story settling heavily on our hearts. "We have to do something," Mia said, her voice firm. "We can't just leave it like this. We need to honor her memory." That evening, we returned to the farmhouse, armed with the knowledge we had uncovered. The air was thick with anticipation as we approached the old door once more. This time, we didn't feel fear, instead, we felt a sense of purpose. We wanted to give Clara the voice she had longed for. Inside, the atmosphere felt different. The music from the phonograph was silent, but the air hummed with energy, as if Clara herself was watching us. We made our way to the small room where we had found the diary and set up a makeshift memorial. We brought flowers, candles, and a framed photograph of Clara that we had printed from an old newspaper article. As we lit the candles, Mia whispered, "This is for you, Clara. We remember you." I nodded, feeling a deep connection to the girl whose life had been so full of dreams yet so tragically cut short. As the candles flickered, we began to read excerpts from the diary aloud, our voices echoing in the stillness of the house. With each word, it felt as if Clara's spirit was drawing closer, listening intently to her story being told. The shadows danced along the walls, and the air grew warmer, wrapping around us like a comforting embrace. When we finished reading, there was a moment of silence, and then the phonograph sprang to life once more, playing a gentle melody that filled the room. It was the same haunting tune we had heard before, but this time it felt different, more peaceful, as if Clara was finally at rest. Tears filled my eyes as I looked at Mia, who was equally moved. "We did it," I whispered, a sense of fulfillment washing over me. We honored her. As we left the farmhouse, the stars shone brightly above us, and the night felt alive with possibilities. Clara's story would not be forgotten, it would live on in our hearts and in the tales we would share. We had come to Georgia seeking adventure, but we had found something far more profound, a connection to the past that would forever shape our lives. Driving back to the city, I felt a sense of peace settle within me. The summer sun may have set on that chapter of Clara's life, but we had helped bring her story back to light. And in doing so, we had forged a bond that would last a lifetime, one built on love, remembrance, and the shared understanding of the fragility of dreams. As we navigated the winding roads back to Atlanta, the weight of our experience lingered in the air. The car was filled with a comfortable silence, each of us lost in our thoughts. I couldn't shake the feeling that Clara's spirit had intertwined with ours, her story now a part of our own. The next few days passed in a blur of exploration and reflection. Mia and I spent our mornings visiting local attractions and our evenings discussing Clara's life, piecing together the fragments we had gathered. We even began to brainstorm ways to share her story with others, feeling a deep responsibility to honor her memory. One afternoon, while sipping sweet tea on Mia's porch, I had an idea. What if we wrote a short story based on Clara's life? We could include excerpts from her diary and our experiences at the farmhouse. It could be a way to keep her memory alive. Mia's eyes lit up. That's brilliant! We can even submit it to a local magazine or a writing contest. Clara deserves to be remembered, and this could be our way of giving her a voice. With renewed energy, we set to work. Every evening, we would gather at Mia's kitchen table, surrounded by notebooks and cups of coffee, as we crafted Clara's story. We wove together the details of her life, the dreams she had, and the heartache she endured, all while incorporating the emotions we had felt in the farmhouse. The words flowed effortlessly, as if Clara herself was guiding our pens. As we wrote, we also began to share our findings with others. We reached out to local historians and community members, hoping to uncover more about Clara's family and the history of the farmhouse. To our delight, we discovered that the farmhouse had once been a beloved gathering place in the community, filled with laughter and life before tragedy struck. One evening, while researching at the library, we stumbled upon an old photograph of Clara and her brother, taken at a local fair. They looked so happy, their faces beaming with joy. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness for the life Clara had lost. We need to include this in the story, I said, showing the picture to Mia. It captures the essence of who she was. Mia nodded, her expression thoughtful. It's a reminder that she was more than just a tragic figure. She was a person with dreams and hopes, just like us. As the weeks went by, our story began to take shape. We poured our hearts into every word, determined to do justice to Clara's memory. Finally, after countless revisions and late-night brainstorming sessions, we finished the manuscript. It felt like an accomplishment, but also a bittersweet moment. We had brought Clara's story to life, yet the journey was coming to an end. With a mix of excitement and nerves, we submitted our story to a local literary magazine. The waiting period felt agonizing, but we remained hopeful. We shared our experience with friends and family, and soon, our story began to resonate with others. People were captivated by Clara's tale, and we received messages of encouragement from those who had read our drafts. Then, one sunny afternoon, as we were lounging on the porch, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from the magazine. My heart raced as I opened it, and I gasped in disbelief. Mia! We got published! I exclaimed, barely able to contain my excitement. Mia jumped up, her eyes wide with joy. Are you serious? This is amazing! We hugged tightly, tears of happiness streaming down our faces. Clara's story would finally be shared with the world, and her voice would echo beyond the walls of that old farmhouse. The day of the magazine release felt surreal. We attended the launch event at a local bookstore, filled with anticipation and nerves. As we stood in front of a small crowd, sharing Clara's story, I felt a sense of connection to her that I had never experienced before. It was as if she was standing with us, proud of the legacy we were creating in her name. After the reading, people approached us with kind words and shared their own stories of loss and remembrance. It was a beautiful reminder of how interconnected our lives are, how stories can bridge gaps and heal wounds. Clara's tale had sparked something in others, igniting a sense of empathy and understanding. As the evening wore on, I found myself standing outside the bookstore, gazing up at the stars. The summer air was warm, and I felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over me. We had come to Georgia seeking adventure, but we had found so much more: a purpose, a connection, and a way to honor a girl whose dreams had been silenced. Mia joined me, and together we stood in silence, reflecting on our journey. "Do you think Clara is happy?" she asked softly. "I hope so," I replied, a smile spreading across my face. "I really hope she knows that her story is being told, that she's not forgotten anymore." Mia nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "We gave her a voice, and now it's up to others to listen. I think that's what she always wanted." As we stood there, the stars twinkling above us, I felt a sense of closure wash over me. Clara's spirit had intertwined with ours, guiding us through the labyrinth of her past and leading us to a place of understanding and compassion. It was a journey that had transformed us, and I knew it would leave an indelible mark on our lives. In the weeks that followed, the magazine article garnered attention, and we began to receive invitations to speak at local events and schools. Each time we shared Clara's story, we felt her presence with us, as if she was there, encouraging us to keep her memory alive. We met people who had their own stories of loss, and it became clear that Clara's tale had resonated with many. One afternoon, we were invited to speak at a community center that focused on helping young writers. As we stood before a group of eager faces, I felt a familiar flutter of nerves. But as I began to speak about Clara's dreams and the importance of storytelling, I saw the spark of inspiration ignite in the eyes of the audience. It was a reminder that stories have the power to heal, to connect, and to inspire. After our presentation, a young girl approached us, her hands trembling slightly. "I loved your story about Clara," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've always wanted to be a writer, but I didn't think I could do it." Mia smiled warmly at her. "You can absolutely do it. Clara didn't give up on her dreams, and neither should you. Write your own story. It matters." The girl's eyes lit up, and I could see the weight of doubt lift from her shoulders. In that moment, I realized that Clara's legacy was not just about her own life, but about inspiring others to embrace their dreams, no matter how daunting they may seem. As the summer days faded into autumn, Mia and I continued to share Clara's story, and we began to receive messages from readers who had been touched by her life. Each letter was a testament to the impact that one girl's dreams could have on so many. It was a beautiful reminder that even in loss, there is hope, and in silence, there is a voice waiting to be heard. One evening, as we sat on Mia's porch, sipping hot apple cider and watching the leaves change colors, I turned to her with a thought that had been brewing in my mind. What if we turned Clara's story into a book? We could expand on her life, include more research, and really delve into her dreams and experiences. Mia's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's an incredible idea." We could include illustrations, photographs, and even excerpts from her diary. It could be a beautiful tribute to her life. With renewed determination, we set to work on the book. We spent hours writing, researching, and brainstorming, weaving together Clara's story with our own experiences and the connections we had made along the way. Each chapter felt like a journey, a way to honor Clara's memory while also celebrating the power of storytelling. As we wrote, we reached out to local artists and historians, gathering their insights and contributions. The community rallied around our project, eager to help us bring Clara's story to life. It felt like a collective effort, a way for everyone to participate in honoring a girl who had touched our hearts. Months passed, and as winter approached, we finally completed the manuscript. It was a labor of love, filled with Clara's dreams, her heartaches, and the unbreakable spirit she had shown throughout her life. We decided to self-publish the book, believing that it would allow us to maintain creative control and share Clara's story in the way we envisioned. The day we held the printed copies in our hands was surreal. The cover featured a beautiful illustration of Clara, surrounded by the fields of wildflowers she had longed to explore. I felt a rush of emotion as I ran my fingers over the pages, knowing that we had done everything we could to honor her memory. We organized a book launch at the same bookstore where we had first shared Clara's story. The event was filled with friends, family, and community members who had supported us throughout the journey. As I looked out at the crowd, I felt a sense of gratitude wash over me. Clara's story had brought us all together, creating a tapestry of connections and shared experiences. As we shared readings from the book, I could see the impact it was having on the audience. People were moved, tears glistening in their eyes as they connected with Clara's dreams and struggles. It was a beautiful reminder that stories have the power to transcend time and space, weaving together the lives of those who share them. After the readings, we opened the floor for questions and discussions. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a sense of community and shared purpose. People approached us with their own stories of loss, dreams deferred, and the power of resilience. Each conversation felt like a thread connecting us to Clara, as if she was standing among us, encouraging everyone to embrace their own narratives. As the evening drew to a close, I stood outside the bookstore, watching as the last of the guests departed. The night air was crisp, and the stars twinkled brightly overhead. Mia joined me, her expression a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "I can't believe we did it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "Clara's story is out there, and it's touching people." I nodded, feeling a swell of pride. We gave her a voice, and in doing so, we've found our own. This journey has changed us in ways I never expected. Mia smiled, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's not just about Clara anymore. It's about all the people who feel inspired to chase their dreams because of her story. We're part of something bigger." As we stood there, a sense of fulfillment washed over me. We had come to Georgia seeking adventure, but we had unearthed a legacy that was far more profound. Clara's life had become a beacon of hope for others, a reminder that even in the face of tragedy, dreams could still flourish. In the months that followed, our book gained traction. We received invitations to speak at schools and literary festivals, sharing Clara's story with audiences eager to listen. Each time we spoke, I felt the weight of responsibility and honor. We were not just telling Clara's story, we were carrying her spirit forward, ensuring that her dreams would never be forgotten. One day, as we prepared for another speaking engagement, Mia turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "What if we created a scholarship in Clara's name? Something to help young writers pursue their dreams, just like she wanted to." My heart raced at the idea. That's a beautiful thought. It would be a way to give back and ensure that Clara's legacy lives on in a tangible way. We began to work on the scholarship, reaching out to local schools and organizations to gather support. The community rallied around our initiative, eager to contribute and honor Clara's memory. It felt as though Clara's spirit was guiding us, inspiring others to embrace their creativity and pursue their passions. As the scholarship program launched, we held a special event to celebrate. Young writers from the community shared their work, and I felt a sense of pride as I watched them shine. Each story was a testament to the power of dreams, echoing the very essence of Clara's spirit. That night, as I lay in bed, I reflected on the journey that had brought us to this point. It was a path filled with heartache, discovery, and connection. Clara's story had transcended the boundaries of time, weaving its way into the fabric of our lives and the lives of countless others. As I closed my eyes, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. We had come to Georgia seeking adventure, but we had found a purpose that would resonate for generations. Clara's dreams were alive, and her voice would continue to inspire those who dared to chase their own. In the years that followed, Mia and I continued to share Clara's story, expanding the scholarship and reaching out to young writers across the country. Each time we spoke, I felt Clara's presence with us, guiding us as we honored her memory and inspired others to embrace their dreams. And as I looked up at the stars on quiet nights, I knew that Clara's spirit would forever shine brightly, a reminder that even in silence, there is a voice waiting to be heard, a voice that echoes the dreams of all those who dare to dream.